I just picture that little girl who had her merited dress and her wig, and she did the port adventure in Scotland, and she goes to Edinburgh Castle, and I just picture all these people just being so ready for this cruise and not getting spoiled.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's live episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel and also our good friends over at WDW Magazine, the DCL magazine. If you have not gotten your float test issue, they were close to selling out, but I think there's another edition coming. So head over to wdw-magazine.com today to sign up for all of their great magazines. You get digital subscriptions to WDW Magazine, DLR Magazine, the special edition of a DCL magazine that hopefully will have a repeat here in the near future. Their calendars, all that great stuff. If you want 10% off of anything in their store, just use code DCL Duo. That's code DCL Duo, all caps. Thank you to the great folks over at WDW Magazine for helping to sponsor our live and bonus shows. And I'll put their information to scroll along the bottom of the screen. But Sam, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, I'm super excited. This gal I've been following on the gram for a while. She's a Disneyland girl. So, of course, she's, one of us, Brian. And so I'm super excited to welcome to the show, Leticia.
Hi, everyone.
We are super excited to have you. Before we get started with, of course, our show today, which is to talk about your fabulous British Isles, Norway cruise. We've got to talk some news, and I'm glad you could join us for this segment because there's some, I think, pretty interesting pieces of news that came out this last week. Two kind of major pieces of news. The first one is there's another promo that Disney slyly introduced this week that I think most people aren't aware of. In fact, we would not have been aware of this if not for the folks over at My Path Unwinding Travel letting us know about this, because it was something that was emailed to people who have sailed with Disney Cruise Line one time but have not booked a second sailing. So either they booked a placeholder and that placeholder expired, or they never booked a placeholder. They were basically given an email opportunity to have a placeholder. So to get 10% off of a future sailing, there's some restrictions around it. I think it was for GTY rooms. But it's another promotion. I feel like it's been the last 3 weeks, we've had every week there's been a promotion that's come out. Leticia, have you been able to take advantage of any of these promotions? Not the first timer one, because you're a 19 cruise girl, ultra platinum. But have you been able to take advantage of any of these offers lately?
I have not, but they've been really, really tempting. I've done 3. In December will be my 3rd cruise this year. So I think I'm good for this year. I know a lot of the specials are for the end of this year, but they're definitely on my radar.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, the other big piece of news is, of course, Destiny news. And we think that the Destiny news will continue to flow over the next month leading up until the first previews. Brian and I will be on the first media/TA preview.
It has not shown up in the app yet. I'm not banking on anything until it shows up in my app. So
it hasn't showed up in the app. That's fair, but it's supposed to be November 10th. So barring any unforeseen changes, November 10th we'll be boarding the Destiny. But there was so I expected, we're a month and 5 days out because October has 31 days. And so they're starting to roll out more and more information. And the new information this week was about Zaya. Well, it was not just about Zaya and Gamble, but it was a bit about what new shows and entertainment are going to be on the Disney Destiny. So they were talking about in the Grand Hall, there's going to be a new musical celebration called The Sounds of Wakanda. It's going to be traveling percussionists going throughout the Grand Hall, telling or inspired by the stories, legends, and culture of Wakanda. So it sounds like an African-style drum band, which sounds awesome. And then they also announced that Zaya and Gamble are going to be the storytellers. So for those who have been on the Wish or on the Treasure, there are storytellers on those 2 ships. And of course, my favorite, Sage and Coriander on the Treasure. These are going to be different storytellers, Zaya and Gamble. Zaya is going to be a fortune teller who will make predictions and weave tales with the help of a mysterious book.
I predict you will book another Disney cruise.
And Gamble will conjure adventures with his collection of mystifying potions and elixirs. And they both are going to have an enchanted trunk that reacts to the power, energy, and magic of classic Disney villains. So they're probably going to be doing some storytelling about villains. But I think the most incredible thing that was announced is this. A new show that's going to take place in Saga. Saga is the same as Luna and Sarabi. And it is called With Great Power, a Marvel comedy show. And so that is going to be an exclusively adult show.
Yeah.
And it's going to be some kind of telling of Marvel. I think it's going to be, and you guys tell me if you agree with my prediction. I think it's going to be Zaya and Gamble are going to be telling the story of Iron Man through Avengers Endgame in like an hour, and it's going to be like a hilarious show like playing all the characters.
It's going to be like the Indiana Jones choose wisely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. And it's going to be great.
I'm here for it.
I'm totally excited for this. This is going to be like, I feel like it's going to be hilarious. If they have, I'm sure they're going to get two great performers to be the storytellers. I mean, I still wish, I'm going to give a shout out to DeCarlo Raspberry, who is amazing on the Treasure. He is now in Japan singing in Disney in concert in Japan. And so he's definitely not going to be on the Destiny. But if he was one of the storytellers on the Destiny, I would just be dying. But I'm sure they're going to have two fabulous storytellers. I'm super excited. Leticia, I know you're going to be on the Destiny in December. What are you looking forward to the most for your sailing?
Oh gosh, just like the Treasure was so different than the others, I think this one is going to be even more different just by the looks of everything. I'm really excited for the Lion King dinner show. I love a dinner show. I think that's going to be amazing. And it's just going to have a different feel. So I'm totally so excited. I'll follow along with you guys. Hope you guys post a lot. I can't wait to see it all.
Yes, we're going to be posting a lot for sure. So if you want spoilers, you want to follow us on our DCL_Duo Instagram account. That's going to be where we're going to be posting the most while we're on the ship.
Non-stop stories from Samantha. Non-stop stories.
If you don't want spoilers, then just don't log into Instagram because we're not going to be the only ones on board. There's going to be a ton of other media and travel agents on board. And so you're going to see a lot. And of course, our live shows in November, once we're off the ship, are going to be Destiny related, of course.
Hercules. I can't wait to see Hercules show. Yeah.
If you want your
food hot, I already bought my outfit.
If you want your food hot, if you want your food hot, main dining, don't sit anywhere near Samantha because she's going to take 500 photos of it before you get a chance to take a bite.
The camera eats first. That's what we say.
All right,
my husband's well trained.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
I got to move us over to this view because Lindsay's saying so many promos to go back to the first news story, and unfortunately, Tracy has asked if I have any prognostications around so many promos. I think just two quick thoughts from me. One is, look, I think the promos, the dates have aligned mostly to the sailings that they put out on the other promos, from what I could tell. And so I think that those ships were just not full. And so they're trying to sell more rooms. I don't know that it means much beyond that at this point, but it will be interesting to track how many of these promos we continue to see as they put more and more ships into the fleet. It's a lot of capacity to be introducing here with the Destiny coming online, the Adventure coming online in March, and then a whole slew of ships following in 2027 and beyond. So it could forebode that, Disney may need to, or maybe hitting somewhat of a pricing wall for some of these sailings and these ships. I don't know that I would say that just yet, but certainly it's more promos than we're used to seeing. I was also talking to somebody this week about how, tech companies hired lots of people during the pandemic to staff all of this great technology that everybody was using because they were all working from home. And then when everybody started going back to the office, suddenly they didn't need as many people. And so, I wonder if there was a lot of quote unquote revenge travel at the end of the pandemic. People had a lot of money they'd saved up. They spent a lot of money on travel because they'd been cooped up. And with that kind of tapering off, and also just the polls are the polls. I'm not getting into politics, but the economy is on top of everyone's mind right now. I think regardless of your politics, and so people may be kind of ramping back some spending a bit on travel. So I think it could be kind of a bunch of different factors colliding here that Disney is got some capacity on their ships that they want to fill. So.
And they're not the only cruise line that's doing this.
Every other cruise line is always selling something.
Well, they've always, but I think there've been a slew of promos on the other cruise lines as well. It seems like a lot of the cruise lines have increased capacity quite a bit over the last couple of years. And I think you're right that the pandemic had something to do with that. And so I do think that they all could be facing that. But one thing to note is that Disney doesn't have to sail full to be making a profit. None of these cruise lines have to be at full capacity, like every bed filled or even every room filled in order to be turning a profit. So I think they're doing just fine.
They do report occupancy, and shareholders and others tend to look a little dimly on like, why is that ship may be profitable, but she's only sailing 80% full, like there's 20% profit not happening there. So it's they got to answer to people just like everybody else does. So anyway, let's move on to happier topics, more fun topics.
Well,
kick us off.
And let's start with Leticia. Why did you book a British Isles cruise? You live all the way in California. What was the impetus for booking this particular cruise out of Southampton doing the British Isles?
Well, first of all, my youngest is 19, so I'm able to travel a lot more now. And I travel with one of my besties. My husband doesn't always want to travel, so we're both kind of in the same boat. And I started with a 12-night Norwegian Iceland in 2016. And that set the bar really, really high. That's one of my most favorite cruises ever. And I've done the Med. Last summer, we did Barcelona to Southampton. We did Spain and Portugal. So this was just another one that I haven't done yet. So I was super excited to go to Ireland and Scotland. And I bought a green sweater. And I don't buy green. I don't wear green. I bought that just for my Kiss the Blarney Stone picture. And we had everything planned for British Isles. Let me just put it that way.
When did you actually learn that the cruise had been shifted? I mean, it was like a week before, maybe, or
no, just days before,
just
right?
Days
a day or two before.
Yeah. We flew out of San Diego Friday, and we landed in London Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. And I just went on my phone and went right to my cruise page, and everyone is just sounding off, check your email, itinerary change. And I looked and I saw the email from Disney and it said itinerary change. Yeah.
Wow.
Complete shocker.
So I guess in that moment, how disappointing was that, or was it disappointing?
It's almost like a death. There's different phases over those next 2 days before boarding, where I was shocked at first, and I was happy for my friend because she's always wanted to go to Norway. Honestly, I had no reason to go back to Norway. I've already been there. So I was excited, and then reading the comments, they were really negative. So I kind of got down, and then you kind of get mad, and then you're kind of bummed, and then you're thinking, well, what are we going to do now? Like, everything's changed. This is not what we planned for. And I booked late a couple months ago, but people book 18 months sometimes ahead and are all ready to go for this particular cruise. So a lot of it was just sadness for people that, people were going to go see family. Some people were going to, just get in touch with their roots. And I just kind of felt it was kind of overwhelming for those 2 days.
And then there's a lot of logistics to deal with. Like, what if any help did Disney do in terms of logistic and figuring out I don't know, even excursions, right? Like, you have a couple of days. Like, could you book things in those 2 days? Were you able to book anything? Of course, all your excursions, if you booked through DCL for British Isles, were all automatically canceled. But was there anything that you could do in those 2 days leading up to the cruise to figure out, other than on your own excursions, but to figure out DCL excursions?
No. And let me just say, the only email we got was sometime overnight on my flight from Disney saying we had an itinerary change.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing, no other communication from Disney up until Monday morning, which is when we boarded. It still said British Isles on our app, and
Of course.
nothing. We didn't get any communication. Go live on this time. I actually got it from my cruise page. I don't know how someone found out. They might have called, but they said something about Port Adventures will be on, let's say, around 2:00.
Okay.
Disney didn't notify us, or I didn't see it on the app. I got no email. So we were kind of in limbo. We were just waiting to see when they popped up on the app, on the Navigator app on Monday. And when I remembered to go on my Navigator app, it was just before the drill. Just about everything was sold out.
Tracy's asking the question I had, which is, did they do anything from like a future cruise credit or percentage off or anything like that to, because it is a big deal to go from a British Isles cruise to a Norway cruise, especially your point, if you've booked it 18 months in advance and you've already done Norway, like, did they give you any kind of compensation or future cruise credit for the itinerary change?
Unfortunately, they did not.
Okay.
I do know that people were allowed refunds if they wanted refunds. And I think you probably have to be a local that really want a refund. We flew San Diego to London. We weren't going to get a refund.
Yeah.
We didn't get a future cruise credit, onboard credit. We didn't get anything.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing. That feels out of character to me. Because to your point, a cancellation. What am I? If I'm already in London, what am I supposed to do?
Well, right.
So, yeah.
And I love London. I love England, but
yeah.
I mean, if you're in the UK, if you live in the UK or you live in continental Europe, you may not have flown to the UK yet. If you're coming from the US 2 days before, you are on the way. You are already in London, or you are on your way to London to sail out of Southampton. If you're coming from the US, like I said, if you're coming from continental Europe, then potentially you might not have traveled yet. And so, yeah, a cancellation might be a possibility. But yeah, that's not quite a lot of notice. I will say, I mean, this is a good example, of just be aware that your cruise itinerary can change. You'll get refunded your port excursions and your port fees for the difference in the port fees. Of course, if your port fees are lower, you'll get refunded whatever that difference is. But you don't technically, under the contract for the cruise, you don't have the right to go to a particular port. I mean, they just
this wasn't a shift in itinerary because of like a mechanical issue that was foreseeable on the ship, or
it was
maintenance,
a weather issue.
Or it was a weather issue. I mean, they just couldn't sail there safely. But still, Disney, you're right. Disney reserves the right to change the itinerary without doing anything.
Right. It's just the contract. It doesn't feel fair, but it just is what it is. And so I think it's good to point this out so people know this. I mean, people complain all the time when their ship doesn't get to dock at Castaway because of weather, right? Because the swells are too big and they can't safely dock. And while if there are port fees, you'll get those port fees back. That's all you'll get. And it's a bummer, but it happens. And you kind of have to, you take that risk when you book a cruise. But I will say this is one reason why you're safer booking through your excursions through the cruise line. I mean, because if you booked excursions through third party, I don't know if you had, Leticia, booked any excursions for the British Isles. Yeah. What did you do about your third party excursions? Were you able to cancel those without penalty, or did you have travel insurance to cover it? What was the result of that?
I did. I did book one independent tour company for Ireland. It was similar to Disney, so it's a longer day to go kiss Blarney Stone, and I think there was a couple more stops along the way. And I did not buy the insurance on that. I'm an insurance girl. I usually buy insurance for everything. I did not get it for that particular excursion. I emailed them, and they sent me an email saying, as soon as we can verify that the ship really didn't come in, we'll give you a refund. And they certainly did give me a refund.
Oh, that's good.
Very, very happy.
Wow. And the good thing about as soon as you know, obviously you give them notice. And then of course, like if that excursion happened to be later in the cruise, you might have been within their cancellation window but that's very nice. They don't always do that. So I think that's really nice to know.
Yet another good, I love what Leticia said, which is you get the good reason, buy that travel insurance.
Travel insurance. Yes.
Yeah. I preach that because you never know.
Yeah.
And let me just say, I trust Disney. They made the right decision, and we cannot control the weather. we did get $38 and some port fees back as a credit for the difference. I just wish we got a little something. I just picture that little girl who had her merited dress and her wig, and she did the port adventure in Scotland, and she goes to Edinburgh Castle, and I just picture all these people just being so ready for this cruise and not getting spoiled. I'm like, I don't care where I go as long as I'm on a Disney cruise ship, it's fine. But there's still that, oh man, we were expecting this and we didn't get that.
Especially with all these promos flowing through the system these days, you think they could probably afford to give people a 10% off future cruise credit or something. So yeah. Well, let's dive into the cruise you did have.
And we're going to talk a little bit of the pre-cruise stuff. So get Brian to the next slide. So you flew from San Diego to Seattle to Heathrow, 3 days pre-cruise. And this is when you're finding out about your itinerary change. I love it.
Yes, we flew up to Seattle. And from there, we did the nonstop over to London. So we got to London, and that's when I got my email.
Awesome. All right. And then this is cool. This is, Downton Abbey. So this is one of the things you did in London. How far outside of London is this?
So I wanted to share this because it's only 45 minutes from Southampton.
Oh,
it's so close. It was definitely on my bucket list. I've been to London several times and I hadn't made it over. And I just checked their website, and it just so happened they had this big weekend to remember, which they have like World War II vehicles there and celebrations and exhibits and everything. So along with staying inside the castle, they have like this big weekend celebration. And we went, that was Sunday, the day before our cruise. And it was just worth, if you're a Downton Abbey fan or like castles like me, like I highly recommend it. We actually didn't stay in London. We took the bus to Southampton to stay there before the cruise. And
cool.
It was 45 minutes, just a short Uber ride away. Yeah.
That's awesome. We love Downton Abbey, Brian and I, so this would be right up our alley.
Ted Lasso is top of my list next time we go to London.
We got it. Yeah, next time we go to London, we're going to go to Richmond so we can see all the Ted Lasso locations. But this would be fun. I mean, obviously we actually haven't sailed out of Southampton. When we sailed to Norway, we sailed out of Dover, and so we haven't been to the port of Southampton. But this would be a great either stop on the way there or excursion to do.
Did you find the hotels more affordable in Southampton than, I'm assuming central London by far, but like did you find it to be a bit more affordable proposition for you pre-cruise?
Completely. Like I would recommend this in a heartbeat. We flew into London. We took Flixbus, which is half the price of their other bus company. It was like $20 per person.
Nice.
It was dirt cheap. It was a direct, no stops. So it was direct from London to Southampton. And the hotel we booked was the Novotel, which is right across from the Horizon Terminal where the ship comes in. And we just walked across the street. Our hotel was there. It was cheap transportation. Like it was amazing.
That's awesome. Now, what other things did you do in Southampton while you were there? Because you had a couple of days to kind of explore.
Sunday was busy because that was the Highclere Castle all day. So Saturday we got in. We didn't really do much. We probably slept. And then we went to bed early so we can get to the castle early in the morning. We left around 7 a.m. And then at night we just walked a little more to central town by the docks. And we met up with some other cruisers at a pub. And FYI, Southampton closes early for dinner. Like mostly everything was closed. So you can't eat anywhere past 6. So we didn't eat. But right next to our hotel, there's a TGI Fridays, and we're eating dinner, and we're like, we're here in England, and we're eating at TGI Fridays.
Yeah, it's not like a big city. Yeah, it's not like a big city, and it was a Sunday night too. So Sunday night is also I think the combination of one, it's like not a big city, and then two, it is a Sunday night. So people are home doing their Sunday night roast dinners.
So Ed is asking in the chat. I think I know the answer to this. Your bus transfer was through a third party, not directly through Disney. I think you gave the name of it, but can you give it one more time?
Right?
It's Flixbus, Flixbus.
Okay.
And they're super cheap, but they were just like a normal motor coach. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Love that. Well, tell us about embarkation day. What time did you said you were able to just walk to the port from where you were at Novotel, but what time was your port arrival time? How was the check-in process? Give us all the details about that.
We could have walked, but we're two women with a lot of luggage. So we did take an Uber, and it took not even 5 minutes. And it was great. So I like to arrive about 5 minutes past my port arrival time. I don't want to wait outside at all. So we were able to walk right in. There was no security line. No, it was a breeze. So it was practically empty when we got there. And it was like what I get, maybe 11:45-ish port arrival time.
I can tell from all of the door decor and your Minnie Mouse, you are so prepared for a British Isles cruise.
I wish I could have shown you everyone's door. They all kept the original door decor, and it had, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Some were so good, but you know what? We started and ended in the UK, so mine was still kind of on theme.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
What do you like to get up to when you first board the ship, Leticia? Like, what's your go-to? Are you a cabanas person, a sit-down lunch person? I'm headed to the pool person?
No, I never do the pool, and the weather was probably not warm enough this time to do the pool. We've done sit-down a few times. Most of the time it's cabanas because we always pretty much board early. Mm-hmm. So with our early boarding time, it's pretty empty. An hour later, it's like jam-packed.
Yeah.
So we do that, and then we kind of just hang around for our room to be ready, settle in the room, and then maybe we'll do a spa raffle or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned you had forgotten to check the app sort of right away, but then by the time you checked the app on board for Port Adventures, pretty much everything was sold out. What did you do in terms of planning for your new ports? And did they give you your new itinerary? Like, was it in the app to show like what day you were going to be? Because at this point, you're like just kind of figuring it out, right?
Yes. It's when I did remember to look on the app, it was what's the drill? Maybe around 3:30 or 4.
Yeah.
So it was about 30 minutes before, and it just popped in my mind. I was like, Port Adventures! And I looked on the app, and I'm scrolling, and it's ghosted, sold out. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So I ran down to the Port Adventures desk, and there was probably maybe like 10 people in front of me. And one of the crew members came out. Okay, you guys got to go. And I'm like, I'm not moving. Some people in front of me did move, but I'm like, I'm going to stay in line. I know how fast I can get down to deck 4 or wherever our drill meetup was. Yeah. And just as he was telling everyone to leave, someone opened up. So I ran up to her, and there was just no time. There's no time to research. There's a little description on the app, and I didn't want anything that was $200 or $300. We weren't prepared for that, especially not knowing what to do. So I booked a couple things really quickly, and I said, if I cancel this, is that going to be okay? She's like, we'll waive any cancellation fees. You can, go back to the room and research them some more. Mm-hmm. So it was stressful, to be honest. I'm a planner. I plan things like I have, printouts of everything we're going to do from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed. I am such a planner. This is just so unfamiliar for me to just be spur of the moment and pick something out really quickly.
So was there just a massive line at Port Adventures or Wow.
And probably throughout the whole day, I would guess. I mean, because and like you said, I mean, they were going to waive cancellation fees and let people switch things up because, you don't have really a lot of time to research. But even then, once you leave port, the internet's, you got to purchase the internet in order to be able to really do research. And so it's not the easiest thing to do on the fly. When they had told you about the itinerary change, had they given you at least the names of the ports that you were going to, or did they give you we're going to Norway and Belgium? Did they give you any detail in that first email?
No, they did. They did give us the new ports. But again, it was just different phases of denial. Is this really happening? We just had to navigate
for sure.
Wait a minute, are we real? It was so surreal almost. It was just kind of unbelievable.
So plus you're in transit, right? I mean, you're in transit trying to get to Southampton. And then of course you've got your castle day. So it's not like you have a lot of time to sit down. At home, I know Brian is a big researcher at home. He's on, TripAdvisor, he's on Viator, he's researching the port adventures. If we're doing the Caribbean, he's researching the private, boat things. And, he's going to do a lot of research. I'm just the passenger princess. I just go along for the ride. But he's going to do all that research.
She's the on-air talent, folks. She's the on-air talent. Yep. I got to keep the talent happy.
He's going to do all that research and planning. But like, I know, like, he's going to be really stressed if all of that gets like thrown up in the air and then he has to do it all on the fly on just his phone.
So what were your ports? So I've skipped ahead. So we're on. I have no idea how to pronounce this, but what were your ports in Norway? Yeah.
Hugsund.
Hugsund.
Okay.
Hugsund. That's how they pronounce it on the ship. Hugsund was the first port. And then we went to Olden, and then we went to Stavanger, which is the only Norway port we did on our first Norway cruise. So that was okay. 2 ports I hadn't been to, so I wasn't totally mad. We were repeating ports, and the last one was the Bruges, Belgium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you listening to our show because you want to make the most out of your next vacation? Great news, the fabulous team over at My Path Unwinding Travel can help guide you so you don't miss a thing. Their team of professional travel advisors are caring, knowledgeable, and experienced. It's why we use them to book our own travel. My Path Unwinding Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, which means they are recognized by Disney for their expertise and service. They have sailed on all the Disney ships, including in concierge, visited the theme parks, adventured with Disney, relaxed at Aulani, and so much more. Whether it's a Disney cruise, a theme park vacation, or Adventures by Disney, or if you are looking to expand beyond the mouse, My Path Unwinding Travel will elevate your next vacation planning experience. Even if you have already booked, reach out for a complimentary consultation to make your vacation even more magical. Ready to talk to the experts? Head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. Thanks, My Path Unwinding, for sponsoring today's show. Now back to the episode.
So let's talk about Hogsund. What did you all get up to in Hogsund? What did you see? It sounds like you explored on your own, but what was there to be seen?
We did do our own. Again, a lot of these port adventures for this stop were trekky, hike, or just things that we really didn't want to do. So this was very, very limited. And I just heard that they have a free shuttle that'll take you from the port into town, which is just, I don't know, a couple miles away, but too far to walk. Some people did walk, but too far for us to walk. And they just have a couple streets of shops and restaurants. And I hope I don't offend anybody, but it's kind of like the Ensenada of Norway. Like, to be honest, there wasn't a lot.
The Nassau of Europe. We have found it.
And
all
the
right.
Ensenada.
I mean, I think for this port, you really need to do a port adventure that takes you out of the port. The one I particularly wanted was a cute little town. But again, it was sold out. I kept checking. There was no availability. So we just kind of walked around, and it started raining and it was cold, and I'm like, oh, just take me back to the ship.
That's the thing though. British, I've looked at some of the port adventures for British Isles, visit Abbey Road, like there's more in the towns that they're stopping at to do. And I feel like in Norway, most of the port adventures that we saw they're pretty active. It's a different cruise entirely, not just different towns, but a different vibe.
Like, like rib boats and hikes and, things like that. It's definitely a different than,
and if I was with my kids or with my husband, we're a little more active. Yeah. My friend, she has a little bit of mobility issues. Yeah. So we were just trying to navigate, something that fit for us. And that wasn't like $300 or $400 too.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
And everything is expensive in Norway. So it's not like the gift shops were cheap or anything. So, it's an expensive
That's a good
country.
point. Yeah. And I mean, the British Isles is expensive. Norway is definitely expensive. Like, food is expensive in these places, especially because there's not a lot of stuff that they can grow because it's very hilly, right? So there's it's not a big farming community. They have like lots of goats and stuff, but it's definitely, things are kind of expensive. So Olden, we have heard really great things about Olden, that people saying it's adorable and loving it from the few folks who went to Olden on a Norwegian itinerary on Disney this year. But tell us what you guys got up to in Olden.
I got to put a quick plug in. That photo on the left is stunning.
Yes,
so
that's a gorgeous photo.
I will take my opportunity to remind folks listening to this show afterwards head over to YouTube. You can see the full PowerPoint. We've gotten some questions recently around people go over it. So both the audio version gets published to YouTube and the video version persists. So if you want to see the PowerPoint, just make sure you click on our live shows and find the show, and you'll be able to see the whole thing live in living color, all that great stuff. But that photo is stunning. So, but tell us what you got up to in Olden.
I like the photo of you in the rain poncho. I think it's cute.
Well, that photo is in the afternoon after a port adventure. The sun came out, so I was able to put my bathing suit on and go in the hot tub. So I was very, very happy. But when we got in, it was very, cloudy and a little bit drizzly. So for Olden, I had to get internet, but I really wanted to research this. I looked on another Disney Mediterranean page and just researched Olden. And this port adventure, it's an independent company called Olden Adventure. It came highly recommended, and people chimed in saying it's great, favorite of our trip. Awesome. So I booked that direct. It was sold out on the Disney app, but not through the company. So I was able to book direct with them, and it was so fun. Let me just say, Olden, you have to sail there. It takes a while. I did the sail out. It is absolutely gorgeous. So I can just imagine getting up early and doing the sail in. Absolutely stunning, charming little town. You dock there in town. There's a couple of shops, and the bus takes you over to Brixton. And along the way, they're just like crystal blue lakes and mountains and waterfalls and just green everywhere. It really is just classic Norway, absolutely stunning. And we got to the lodge there, and then you get on your little ATV or troll, they call it a troll car, and you make your way up.
They love their trolls in Norway.
People can hike it, and they were hiking, and it's quite a hike. You go through a huge waterfall, and water's pouring over you as your cars go in, and you're just going all the way up to the viewpoint. And then from there, it's maybe 10, 15 minutes to walk to, it's close up to the lake right in front of the glacier, right in that picture.
Cool.
That's the viewing point. We actually got closer than that as we walked all the way up there. I felt the water in the lake. It was like a crystal aqua blue. And it was rainy and it's really windy, but I totally forgot about that. I just felt like Elsa, and it was so beautiful.
Oh, I love that. I have to say, I think Norway was the most beautiful place. Norway and Alaska are the two most beautiful places I think I've ever been in my life. And just seeing those glaciers, behind you, and it's just, it's incredible. Now, did you guys have to take these ATV troll cars back down? Was this rough terrain? How was it pretty adventurous?
It's not rough. It's not bumpy or anything. It just saves you from having that long walk. Again, we couldn't walk that far. But it's just more fun to be in a troll car and just kind of take the little buggy ride up and buggy ride back down. Afterwards, there's a lodge, and they have a great gift shop, and they had a little cafe. And if you're on the Disney Port Adventure, a little room off to the side had coffee and pastries. We didn't get that. I just bought my own cake and then took the bus back to port. So it's a good one. I recommend this port adventure for Olden.
I'm going to guess that even if you counted the amount you spent on your coffee and pastries, that you still paid less than what the folks paid for the Disney version of the excursion. So
I think it was at least $20 difference, if not 30. Yeah.
So Ed's asking in our chat, how long was this excursion?
I would say it was 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, and maybe a couple hours, or maybe about 4.
Okay. No, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Is this,
we didn't need any more time than that.
Is this so? When we went to Norway, one of the nice things is the ship would get in at kind of a reasonable time to the port, but then it was there until sometimes 6:30, 6 o'clock, and so you could go off and do an excursion and then come back and still explore around the town. Was it similar, or were the port times more compressed?
Not in this port. I think we left around 5.
Okay.
I think the only one that was extended was Stavanger.
Okay.
I think that was a 7 or 8.
And how was your weather overall? It sounds like cloudy and rainy was the theme of the day.
On our sea days, it was great. It wasn't hot or anything like that, but it was fine. This in Olden, it was rainy in the morning, then it cleared up. Our first port, it did get rainy for a couple hours. So when I went to Norway in 2016, we went in mid-June and we had stellar weather the whole time. So this was a bit different being in mid-September for sure.
Yeah.
That's
And
when we went in September, and it was similar to what you're
similar.
describing.
You're going to deal with it wasn't like pouring rain or anything, but you'll have you have periods of drizzly rain, and then it kind of clears up, and so it's you're not going to have necessarily full days that are clear, but you're probably not going to have a full day of pouring rain either. So it's usually, especially more rain in the morning and more sun in the afternoon. Well, let's talk about
Stavanger. Disney really quick. They did give us free ponchos as we're getting off the ship, so that was nice.
Nice. I love that. The ponchos are key because finding a poncho outside of a Disney park is kind of a difficult thing to do, and they're expensive. All right. Well, Stavanger is a big city. Of course, you got to go to two bigger cities because Bruges is kind of a bigger city as well. Tell us what you got up to in Stavanger.
So we did a walking tour. I think I wrote it on there. I can't read it.
Oh yeah,
walk through historic Stavanger.
Okay. Yeah. So we did that. So if you've been there, it's really cute. Right when you get off the ship, it's all the white buildings. They're really, really cute. We started. Well, let me just say there wasn't a whole lot to do. When we were there last time, we did the fjord cruise with the little waffle stop with the kids, and that was amazing. Years ago. We weren't going to do Pulpit Rock or anything. So this was one where it's there wasn't a whole lot of options for us either. So I chose this one. The first stop was a canning museum, which is interesting if you want to know about canning, I guess. It was interesting, but we learned about canning, and it was a really big industry for them for many, many years. Our guide was very sweet, and then she took us around the town and just walked and just pointed out buildings, and it was just kind of a little historical block tour around the port, which was nice. Stopped by that church there, and right behind that little pub on the lower right was the oldest cafe in Norway, so we had to go in there and get some pastries.
Cool.
So it was just another low-key day. It's a cute little town. It's more of a bigger city, I guess, than the other towns. It is definitely a city, but it was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty little. I mean, it's not a huge city, but a pretty sort of medium-sized city.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks we've heard have liked the rib boat excursions there, but if you do that, you're hoping for a more clear day. Of course, this night looks like you had a fairly decent weather day that day, though.
Yeah, I have to say, now that I think about it, I don't think we had any rain at all, and it was pretty much blue skies, a mild temperature. So yeah, that actually was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing about, I guess, pivoting from British Isles to Stavanger, at least clothing wise, you're in kind of the same, temperatures and weather conditions. And so you're packing for September in the British Isles, you're going to be covered. It's not like you're going to, you think you're going to Great Britain and you're going to Greece instead. No, it's at least weather-wise.
Totally.
Pretty similar.
And I asked on our cruise page, I said, is anyone taking their rain boots? And everyone was like, no, but something told me to take my rain boots. And it was the best packing decision, even though they weigh 10 pounds, to bring them because I used them a couple times. And I'm so, so happy I brought them. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're going in September to the British Isles, you're going to Northern Europe, waterproof shoes are a thing, whether that's boots or waterproof sneakers or galoshes, whatever. It is definitely a recommendation, and a good waterproof jacket as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Beth is asking a great question. She was wondering if did the ports have other ships in port when you guys were there? She's asking because of the itinerary change, or are they too small for more than one ship? And that she's asking about the ports in general, not just Bruges, but when your first port, Haugesund, your second port, Olden, and then Stavanger as well.
No, that's a great question. There were still other ships, which is interesting because this was a quick logistics change for them. Haugesund did not have enough, not that we saw, unless there's another area. Olden did not. I think maybe they only allowed one. That's a very, very small port.
Mhm.
The longer, just no. Now that I think about it, yeah, we
Yeah.
were the only
I
ones.
I bet that's why they chose these ports in particular, because there are a lot of options in Norway for ports to go to. You know, some medium, some small, some bigger, but you've got to have one that has got a berthing, a spot
Hmm.
available, and so that probably plays into how they figure out. But I think a lot of these ports are pretty small, and so a lot of them only have one, maybe two spots. Stavanger would have more than one, but there's other ports. Probably not. Well, let's talk about Bruges, Bruges. You did another Disney port adventure, um, full day in Bruges. Yeah.
Full day in Bruges on your own. We had the choice of Bruges or the other town was Ghent.
Mm.
Again, I didn't have time to research either one before.
Mm-hmm.
So we just thought, let's just take a free day. And wow, what an amazing town Bruges is. It's just something out of a storybook. And it was absolutely beautiful. We were told in advance that it was a Sunday, so a lot of things might be closed. Um, Everything was open.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
it was amazing. It's a town you can just walk around. You can't necessarily get lost. It's the Belgium or chocolate is the right capital chocolate. So every little block is chocolate, 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 gift shop, chocolate, chocolate, shop, chocolate galore. So if you love chocolates, you need to take this cruise and stop in Bruges. It was just amazing. They had a little canal boat ride, so we did that. And last minute, we
Yeah, the
did book
picture on the left and the middle, like you can tell these are the canals that you're like. I didn't realize that Bruges is such a canal city, like kind of like Venice, where you're just going through all the instead of streets in a lot of places, it's just water. That's awesome. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the charming little bridges over the canal.
I also see some.
We did take a.
I also see some Belgian fries here. Yeah.
Thank you for not saying fresh French fries.
No, those are Belgian. They're twice cooked, right? I mean, it's a special method of making fries that they have in Belgium.
Yeah.
Well, we learned that. My girlfriend, she booked a last minute foodie walking tour that morning, I think, and it was like $3. And we went on that walking tour, and she took us to get Belgian fries. Fries were invented in Belgium, not in France. So she made sure to make that point. They are twice fried. This place was amazing. They just call them fries. They don't call them French fries. We also tried chocolate and Belgian waffle, and it was a great little add-on we did when we were in town.
Nice.
Awesome. So now this one was it was a Disney port adventure, but was it just the transportation like to Bruges, and then they took you like to and from the ship? Is that how it worked?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was maybe 30 minutes. There was a half day and a full day, and we chose to do the full day on your own, and it was perfect. We just, like I said, we just walked around and ate, and the buildings are just beautiful. They have some beautiful cathedrals, cute little swans. Swans were just all over, and they also have horse-drawn carriages, and you can take a horse-drawn carriage and go through the town. So you hear the little, pop, 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 pop sound on the cobblestone streets. It was just the most darling town. It was just amazing.
I want to go to Bruges now.
That might be one of the towns on our river cruise. Sam, we are river cruising in Belgium.
We are going to Belgium. That's true. Oh my God, I hope it is. Because we are going to Belgium. I don't remember.
Ed's asking in the chat, and I think you've kind of answered this, but he's asking, like, how did you decide what to do in these cities given how short of a time you had? I think it sounds like a lot of it was just availability
on the fly,
but I don't know if you had any other thoughts there.
Definitely on the fly. We knew that Bruges was small and just a walking town, so we were just happy to just walk around and go into shops, and we knew there'd be lots of chocolate shops. We had no idea there'd be that many. But we visited many of those, got our chocolate souvenirs, and had fries. Did the little boat cruise down a canal, and we just kind of winged it. But this is a great town to wing. Apart like Hogson's not a town to wing it. Bruges is definitely a town where you could just totally wing it and have an amazing time.
Nice. Yeah. I gotta give like a special plug for food tours in general. I think a food tour is a great way to experience any city in town. And I also think that's one where like, if you do have a last minute itinerary change, like I think it's, if you can, even if Disney's not offering one, right? Like if you can find a local food tour, I think that's always going to be a great way, because then you can get like a great way to explore the city and find out about the culture. And then it will, that guide will take you around to a bunch of different places. So
yeah, I recommend it to everyone. We've done them in Barcelona, in Rome, in even Puerto Rico. You get history, you get fed, and you get your bearings. So I always recommend a foodie walking tour, especially in Europe.
We had a great one in London with the Borough Market, which was fantastic. Yeah, I love those food tours. I also will put a plug in for if you are a drinker and you will, there's some places you can find a nice little private like beer tasting pub crawl tour with a small group of people, which is a fun way to meet some people while you travel. So yeah,
absolutely.
TripAdvisor has all kinds of like unique, TripAdvisor and Viator, like they have all kinds of like unique private tours.
And I think they're so worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Before we get to the debarkation stuff, I've got to ask, because I love asking, favorites from onboard experiences. Of course, this was an unexpected, you have unexpected stuff that you're doing in port because this was not planned and where you were going to be. But all the standard stuff on the ship is still happening, and you're going to have all of the activities that you would have had regardless of what the itinerary is. I want to know what Leticia, you've been on 19 Disney cruises. So you're a pro. What are some of your favorites on board?
On this particular cruise, I guess Aladdin, because I've been on the Wonder and the West Coast cruises the most. So to see Aladdin, that's definitely a highlight. On the longer cruises, they always have a Broadway star come on board. And so I like to see, they change the names, but it's always like an adult lounge. They'll do a special show. I always go to those because those are really neat. They get to really show off their skills. And the performer we had, he played Jafar on Aladdin. So went to his show. And then classic like Match Your Mate. I always have to watch Match Your Mate. But being with the time change, like we did sleep a lot.
Well, and that's why it's important to come in at least a couple nights before, especially. And if you're a West Coaster, it's so hard. It's so hard. We've got the 3 hours of the US, and then we've got the 6 hours of Europe, basically time change. And so it's a lot. It's a 9-hour time change if you're coming from the West Coast all the way over to Europe, to mainland Europe, or 8 hours if you're going to the UK.
I remember it vividly from being up in the middle of the night and watching Australian Cops with Sam in a hotel in London because it was like 3 a.m.
Because we were just like, we could not sleep. We're just, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I can't either. The only good part is I could FaceTime my husband and talk to my grandkids because they were up. But I'm like at 3 a.m. on my phone FaceTiming them.
Too funny. Well, tell us what you guys did post-cruise, because obviously this was all planned out before the cruise. What did you guys do in London after the cruise?
So we said goodbye. Let me just shout out amazing servers. We had Naya was our head server, and Sam was our assistant server. And Naya was so stellar. By night 2, I knew he was special. And during our cruise, we just found out that he had just been promoted to head server. So we got an amazing server. I'm so happy for him. Big shout out to him. He's one of my favorites. But my favorite server is actually on the Wonder. He's my second favorite by far. So we said goodbye to them. And then we had 3 nights in London. So we did take Disney transportation from the ship to London to our hotel. And a couple of things that I've always wanted to do. I'm a big royals junkie and castle junkie, and I try to go to all the castles. Big castle on my bucket list was Hampton Court Palace.
Oh, yeah.
I love Henry VIII and all those stories and everything. So that was a phenomenal day for us. We, of course, had to eat our fish and chips. We went to the Natural History Museum, which was just a few blocks away. Museums are free in London. And we kind of took it easy. We go to Harrods, we do our shopping, and we had a great post cruise. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, any lessons from, this sort of crazy change in itinerary that you could help like pass on to our listeners? Like if you have an itinerary change, maybe it's an itinerary change and it's just one port's changed, or you have an itinerary change and it's your entire itinerary is completely changed like yours was, Leticia. Leticia, what advice would you give to somebody in your situation of like what to do or how to roll with the punches?
Well, first of all, I'll say it again. I totally trust Disney. I think they made the right decision. Our last cruise night was rough, and apparently those waves were half as big as the ones that were in this storm that we avoided. So I was very, very thankful for that. And there's just nothing you can do. I didn't really see anyone, getting mad or yelling at guest services. So I was really happy about that. The only thing I probably would have done different is just like, okay, we're going to Norway. These are the ports. Let's research our own, because everyone is going to be storming that Port Adventures desk to try and book something. So have your backup plan. The only thing I wish they would have done different is I wish they would, and they probably can't IT-wise, I wish they would have said Pearl can book at 1 and then at 1:30, just to avoid like this mad rush. Because I really think people were booking things just to book and then they cancel later. And it was just really, really hectic. So a great decision was to research Olden, find a private adventure, private excursion. So just kind of like, okay, this is the change. Let's deal with it. And let's figure out our plan before you wait to get on the ship and have Disney, just all of a sudden release all these port adventures.
I love that you use the analogy about the stages. I use this at work all the time, actually, when we have to make decisions and then like we're communicating these decisions and you can just see everyone's in a different place. I'm like, they all have to go through the stages of grief. Like it's human and you're going to be disappointed at first. But yeah, if you can get to that action oriented place even a little faster, then you could potentially nail some, have figured out some port adventures and things to do a little bit quicker. But you also just can't avoid it. It's a human reaction of like, I'm disappointed now and what are my options and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it honestly sounds like a great cruise, despite all of the hiccups. Of course, Brian always likes to ask what's next. We talked pre-show. You will be heading on the Disney Destiny on December 3rd, and I know you're super excited about it. But Leticia, you are always posting mostly about Disneyland because you're there like all the time. You live real close to Disneyland, but all kinds of tips and tricks for Disney vacations, even vacations beyond Disney. Why don't you tell folks how they can follow along with you? How they can get in contact with you if they want some of your assistance in all of these tips and tricks that you share with the community?
Yeah, the easiest place is probably Instagram. It's Mouse Mamas, MOUSEMOMMAS. I have a small YouTube where I really just post stateroom tours or Disney hotel room tours. I really should probably work on that more. But Instagram is probably the easiest way. My phone number, maybe not my phone number, my email is on there and I can get right back to you.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your adventure on the Disney Fantasy with us. We so appreciate it. For all of those listening, watching, however you are getting us, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. And also don't forget, if you have not already given us those 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, make sure to give us those 5 stars. And if you leave us a written 5-star review, we will read it on the air at the top of one of our regular recorded weekly shows. We will be back next week. I got to tell you, we've got a great October. I mean, starting with Leticia, but the rest of the month is fire as well.
Yeah, but we're running up against Major League Baseball right now and some other things. So,
we got a great show next week. We're going to be talking. Get this, folks. We are going to be talking with Amy, who is a former Plan Disney panelist.
Oh, this is a good show. I am excited for this show.
And we're going to be talking about Disney Cruise Line etiquette.
Oh.
So we're going to be talking about like saving seats in the theater, saving spots in line for characters, what the what the actual etiquette is supposed to be in cabanas or in Marceline Market. You know, we're going to talk all those different things.
I'm going to have to give Sam a mute button for me, or else I'm going to go off on a bit of a rant every 5 minutes. But yes, I cannot wait.
Yeah. We're going to talk about all things DCL etiquette. And this is going to be, you know, some of the stuff we're going to talk about is what Disney's like rules are versus what they actually do in practice, because there's a lot of differences there. And then we're also going to give our personal opinions about what we think good etiquette on Disney Cruise Line actually looks like as well.
We should ask. Let's ask our guest before we sign off. Leticia, what's the one thing that you see people do constantly on the cruise where you're like, that's just not how this is supposed to work? Like, you should be doing it this way. Do you have one thing, like a pet peeve?
I have a couple for sure. I like you. I don't like that rote drop culture on the cruise.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is, especially in adult only areas, just putting your stuff on there when you don't show up for hours. Like, that is probably my biggest pet peeve.
I just wrote our DVC guide about something that we were dealing with at Alani, and I was like, I don't understand why I have to wake up every morning at 6 a.m. when I'm on vacation just to get a pool chair. Like, it just.
I heard at Alani they're putting timers and they're doing a lot better.
Oh,
and
good.
I think
Are they? I hope so.
on the cruise line they're doing better too. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
I hope so.
Good.
All right.
That's going to be a great show.
Yeah.
All right. Well, join us next Monday night, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern for all of you out there. And with that, Leticia, we will just say thank you so much for spending some time with us this evening. And thank you to all of you out there for listening, watching after the fact, or coming and visiting the YouTube channel and watching after the fact. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Well, thanks to everyone out there for listening this week. We really, really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you can keep getting great content from us every week. In fact, twice a week we publish shows. So be sure to hit the subscribe button to get all of those great episodes. And if you want to watch us live, we have a live show now every week, Monday nights, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern over on youtube.com/DCL Duo. So be sure to head over and check that out. If you want to help support the show, be sure to hit those 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you leave us a written review, a 5-star written review, we will read it at the top of one of our main episodes. So please head over there and hit those 5 stars. Of course, you can also help support the show by supporting our fabulous show sponsor, My Path Unwinding Travel. If you want to book your next Disney vacation, head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email them at dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. If you've got questions or you'd like to connect with us, the best way to do that is to head over to dclduo.com. It's got links to all of our things, full catalog of the podcast episodes, including a searchable catalog for the podcast, links off to our vlog, a link to our Etsy store where we sell some fun fan-inspired magnets, link to our Patreon if you'd like to help directly support the show each and every month. Just head over to the website or patreon.com/DCL Duo. Also has a way for you to sign up for our Substack newsletter that we're hoping to start really pumping out monthly here at least, and a few blog articles that we've written. So dclduo.com is the best way to connect with us. You can also, of course, email us at info@dclduo.com or reach out to us on our voicemail line at 402-413-5590. That's 402-413-5590. The DCL Duo podcast is not affiliated with Disney Cruise Line, the Disney Company, or the Disney family of theme parks. The views expressed on the show are solely those of the individuals on the podcast and in no way reflect the views of the Disney Company or Disney Cruise Line. If you have questions about a Disney cruise or a Disney vacation, please contact the great folks over at My Path Unwinding Travel or Disney directly or your own travel agent. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time for another fabulous adventure with the DCL Duo. Good night.